Hello, welcome to Autism 51 here on Sparks 1524. I'm Nathaniel Miller. This new series, if you will, of episodes specifically on autism, it's entitled Autism 51 for a reason. I am 51 years old, and last month I was diagnosed with autism, as I talked about in a previous video and column. This journey, unlike my suicide prevention advocacy, my PTSD and trauma recovery advocacy that obviously I maintain, is a slightly different animal because this one's actually happening in real time. You and I'm having this happen in real time while I'm talking to you, while I'm doing this. So this program, the Autism 51 program, is kind of becoming a different animal from my other ones. For example, normally I write a column and I do the written column first, then I'll do the video because that helps me get my thoughts together. And I can decide what information is better to communicate in writing in the column, what information is better to put here on video, so you don't repeat the same information. And some things are better shown than told. Some things are better told than shown, et cetera, et cetera. Except this time. I've written several columns for this second part of my autism story, and none of them work. It's like I'm writing and then, okay, great. I wrote something really well. It has awesome language. I'm amazing. Has nothing to do with what I want to say. And I think it's because this is happening in real time. I was diagnosed last month. It started at the end of April when a physician asked me about, wow, you got a lot of great trauma recovery skills. How have you been finding ways to use them to manage your autism? I beg your pardon? Snowballed. So here's the update. Late last month, the very end of the month, I took the formal autism survey, the diagnostic survey. It's a 50-question survey that's done rapid fire. The counselor or the doctor, whoever's giving it, will hit you with a question, and you either answer with the first answer that comes to mind, or if it's multiple choice, they hit you with the question, read you the choices. Immediately, you give the first choice that comes to mind. That format is designed to circumvent the human tendency to say what we think the provider wants to hear. Even those of us who are grown up, we still have that tendency. It's part of our nature. Well, this compensates for that. Even the unconscious way a lot of us do it. A score of 1 to 33 puts you in what's considered the low functioning autism category. Those are people who need a lot more support and services so they can live as fully as possible. If you want to imagine it like this, somebody who's a 0 or 1, I mean, they're on that end of the spectrum, they are living in a completely opaque, soundproof mental bubble. Nobody can get in, they cannot ever get out. They are completely trapped. 50 is you're so high functioning, there's really almost no point in this because you're pretty well neurotypical. You're almost neurotypical. So 33 to 34 is the cutoff point. If you score 1 to 33, you're in the low functioning category. Score 34 to 50, you're in the high functioning. Pretty easy to realize. I scored 34. What this likely means, as I was talking with my counselor, because she's the one who actually gave the survey, I probably entered the workforce as a relatively low functioning individual. But not knowing I was autistic in the first place, none of us knew that, just charged ahead and kept going and either collapse, you sink or swim, collapse or build. And there was one moment where I collapsed, and that's where I accidentally outed myself back in 98 about being gay and tried to kill myself over it. Even that's taken a slightly different perspective and focus now that I know about the autism. A lot of things I could never understand are making sense. Why I go out in public and feel like I'm in a foreign culture, even though I grew up in the United States for 51 years. That's very much an autism trait, that disconnect from society, that feeling like you're kind of on your own all the time. I'll sit with my family. I love my folks. We get along great. I moved back to Florida to be near them. And I'll be in the room with them doing something we love, watching battle bots or Pop and I watching NASCAR or something anyway. And I'll feel like I'm completely alone. I won't feel anything. It's like there is a glass bubble between me and them. This is why I have realized I hate video conferencing so much. Unless it's somebody I know really well. Because doing a video conference strikes me as a physical manifestation of what I live with. You can see the person, you can hear them, you can never touch them. You are separated. That's the way I feel all the time. So doing a video conference can drive me up the wall because it's now a physical reality mirroring what I live with all the time. Little mysteries like that are getting explained. That's a good thing. The big thing I'm going through that some friends of mine, I don't say they worry about me, but the hard part is, and why this kind of rambling. Oh, I just realized too, reading up on adult autism, as I get some literature developed that I find I trust, I'll definitely pass it on. But looking away to the left or right, looking away while talking and thinking and not maintaining eye contact, even with the camera, that's very much an autistic trait. And I've been doing it all my life. Yeah, I'm talking, I'm listening to you. I'll look back, look away, think, look back. But I have to make myself look back to the person. My instinct is to look away and kind of drift visually while I'm listening to them, but not to connect. That explains that. Even when I'm here on video, how many times have I, as I've been doing all these episodes, found myself always looking to the left, talking and thinking, and then having to remind myself, hey, dummy. I shouldn't say dummy. I'm being funny here with myself, but say, hey, guy, look at the camera. That's one that I didn't know was an autism trait, but I knew I had. And I really had to work on that tendency when I was in the Navy, once I became an instructor. Photo, journalism, graphic arts, all those things. I taught that for 7 years. Instructor training was one of the best things I ever went through because I'm a good teacher. I'm clearly a good speaker. I know a crap load about my subjects. More to the point, I will go read the lesson plan and the materials and make sure I know what I need to know before talking, etc., etc. But I look away a lot. I can sometimes just stop talking for a few minutes. That to me, it's organizing thoughts and just here, but to everybody else, it comes off as, see what I mean? I had to really work on those as an instructor. Even if we had known I was autistic back then, I still would have had to work on them. Now I've got them so much under control, it's almost, unless you're a medical provider to really train in this like a couple of psychiatrists, that by itself doesn't come off as an autistic trait anymore. It just comes off like, I have this habit of looking off to the left and thinking and then coming back. So right there, without having had any specific autism help, I can clearly recognize when my behaviors and habits are not part of the norm. And yes, by the way, I'm going to say this right now. The word normal is often maligned. There is no normal. Nobody's normal. Screw that. Normal exists. It has to. If normal didn't exist, we wouldn't have autism spectrum disorder. Autism, this is a variation on a normal brain. So yes, I am using the term normal. I'm not using it as a pejorative. I'm using it in the literal descriptive sense that there is a mass out there that is generally normal. We recognize it. That's why I'm considered to have a disorder, because I don't hit that norm. There's nothing insulting about that. It's a simple fact. It's a hard fact to swallow. That's one of the things I've been wrestling with is I've always had a deep-seated fear since I was way little that the world was right and I really was crazy, that I was the crazy one. Well, I'm not the crazy one, clearly. I mean, I went through a whole military career. I own a home. I'm an independently published novelist with 4 books out. I'm working on number 5. But I have to look in the mirror and admit, I'm not the crazy one, not like that. But no, I am the one who is not normal. My brain is not part of the normal population. My brain is a variation. Now, whether this variation is a set of birth defects, or if this is a variation in our species, because let's be honest, let's say it up, people with autism like myself, we tend to be very gifted in different areas. Some autistics are geniuses at math, but they can't write a word to save their life. Other autistics, like myself, I'm a novelist, I'm a journalist, I'm a world-class wordsmith who can barely balance a checkbook. I can discuss quantum physics with you, gravitational theory, volcanism. Name your subject. I can discuss it with you as far as concepts. As soon as you add an equation in there, I'm lost. So, is this wiring in the CPU that I have? It's not normal. But is it a birth defect, or is this a evolutionary variation in our species that gives certain members of our species different gifts that, if we're working together, can help the whole? We don't know. And I won't know until I die and talk to God. What I do know is that what's made it difficult, and the reason I'm talking about this at length, is it's thrown my entire sense of me, my entire life into uncertainty. How many friends have I lost because they may have been a dick in the end, but I helped set up the failure by being an emotional, spiritual tsunami that just blasted their infrastructure every time I talked to them. How many times I set myself up for failure because I didn't recognize the signs of and behaviors in somebody that would become a toxic friendship. I don't know, but I have to go through all that. And a friend of mine, Luke, was worried about me spinning out over stuff like this. And I had to tell him that that's part of the problem here is communicating. What is coming off to other people as me spinning out and being, oh my God, you're about to crash and burn and commit suicide again or attempt to me is just processing. And to do that, I have to talk about it physically. And another autistic trait is repetition. Well, I've always been repetitious in talking. I will use the same phraseology so much without realizing that other people want to throw a shoe at me. But I also am repetitious in talking about emotions. I will talk about the same emotional issue for weeks and months, and then I'm done. It's over and I'm finished. I move past, I'm good. But now I understand why people are looking at me like I'm wallowing in self-pity, or they're clues how to get me out of this funk. That's part of the communication problem. It's an autistic trait to be very repetitious. Like any other trait in the spectrum, some of us exhibit it one way, others exhibit it a different way, and we all will exhibit it to different sizes, if you will. But now I understand that part of the conflict of me trying to find help and talk to people, and people like, just get over it. You've been going on about this for months. It's a communication problem because what they're trying to communicate to me is that they're seeing me wallowing. While I'm trying to communicate that I'm not wallowing, this is just the process I have to go through. Well, that's where this diagnosis it's kind of rocked the world because I realize how people look at me, but this is what I need to move into a better dawn. Now I can talk to people like my friend Luke, who worried about me spinning out over this the other day. Was it yesterday or the day before? Anyway, I was able to tell him, no, this is an emotional cycle this is the cycle I have to go through to work through something. It is a very repetitious process. For me, it's completely normal. Turns out not everybody goes through it, but I can articulate that now. It also explains why I have such a wanderlust. I love to go out and travel. I've got an adventurous spirit just by being me. But I also have always had this equal and opposite force in my head that just freezes me and doesn't want me, and where I can't almost can't move. It's an equal and opposite force. Adventurism, not stopping. Autism, fear, inability to handle change in routine. Very difficult to live with, but that's my life. I'm either going to get busy with what helps me live or get busy with what helps me die, and I prefer to live. I don't think I'll be doing any written columns on Autism 51 for a while. I think the better thing for me is to talk, and this is going to be a little more freeform. So I'm not going to try and go beyond 15 minutes. I really don't want my program to go beyond 15 minutes, maybe 20 if it's really good. If you have any comments, please leave them. Well, obviously, yeah, please leave your comments in the comment section. But please leave a comment if you have an idea, if you just want to share something. Thank you for your time. I would ask you to hit that subscribe button. I do a lot of other programming besides talking about autism. Please hit that little like button. It does help the algorithm, or help me in the algorithm so people can find me easier. Until we meet again, I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for your time. And remember, go and do some great things.